Hello everyone, I hope you guys are all having a wonderful day, and today we are going to be putting a base on the moon. Now, actually, I didn't know if I was going to make this video, but I decided halfway through the launch app, might as well milk all my KSP gameplay for content. So, as you can see here, we are about 196 kilometers above the surface, going at approximately 6,000 meters per second, so we are nearly at orbital velocities. This Saturn SV second stage should bring us the way there. And I'm putting on the flight data on screen right now so you can see that. You can actually pretty interesting see the first and second stages when we detach those, and when how the second stage ramps up the thrust when it loses mass from burning propellant. And so we're just going to coast along here trying to gain as much velocity as possible so we can do the transfer. And I believe we are about to run out of fuel right now. We are at 70 meters per second. And we have staging burnout. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ramp up the third stage of the Saturn V. And we also have another stage right there just to give us a little kick when we get to the moon. And as you can see that second stage is flying right past as we accelerate even faster. We actually should be pretty close to orbital velocity, what, 7,000 meters per second? Yeah. We've actually reached orbital velocities right now, and we need to just shut down that one J2 engine. And then we are just going to do a smooth transition to a very cinematic shot of the base with the third and fourth stages, transfer stages, right there. That is an absolutely beautiful view. So now we are going to just start to move ahead and get a maneuver plan that will put us on a trajectory to intercept with the moon. Now, when you're doing real solar system, it's not as easy as it is with just stock Kerbal Space Program. Really, you want it to be, a good way to describe it is if your inclination markers, those lines you see going out from our orbit to the moon, you want it to be a quarter of the way from there, and then at least halfway from there. So you can see we're hitting it a bit late in the transfer window, but we're still gonna hit the moon. And as you can see right now, we're actually on a pretty high orbital intercept of the moon right now. And so once we are done just tweaking with our maneuver node, we are going to start the burn to get to a lunar encounter. Now, the thing is with these J2 engines, I'm actually using a mod called Real Engines, which adds the RD180, the J2, a F1, and a ton of other, like, Delta engines. And even though I had that mod of J2 engine, which has a lot more thrust than the analog in the game, it actually still doesn't produce a lot of thrust. So I am left with doing transfer burns that I get a lot of cosine and gravity losses like this one. And I'm just going to turn up the ambient light boost up for you guys so you can see it better. I do not know why, but YouTube's algorithm, the compression algorithm, it just takes a baseball bat to the, like, brightness. All of the, like, videos that have, are, like, darker just become 10 times darker. And if you are looking there right now, you could have seen we're passing over Mexico, and we have actually a pretty far encounter from the moon. So we are going to be planning a correction burn so we don't completely miss it, because I want this to land after being in low lunar orbit, so I don't lose delta V from gravity losses. So I'm just going to fade into that burn right here. We actually got decently close, and I'm just gonna plan our capture burn, which actually it's not gonna be so bad because capture burns around the moon take anywhere from 600 to 1,000 meters per second, unlike in stock Kerbal Space Program where usually it's about 200 to 400 meters per second. Well, I mean, it usually always depends on where you are in the orbit. But now we're just gonna position the spacecraft and start the burn in a couple seconds. And I'm actually gonna transition to the second burn because, let's just say that first one, it was very explosion-y. The Kraken got me. But this burn, it did go fine. We lowered our periapsis and activated those two J2 engines, which I have to admit was just a little bit excessive. We really did not need that much extra weight. But again, we had so much, we had a ton of delta V from this, which basically allowed us to do almost whatever we want. We could have changed our orbit at this point, and we would have had enough delta V to land. It wouldn't be preferable, because I would have to basically point retrograde to the last moment, so I wouldn't have to worry about that much gravity and cosine losses, but moving on. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to plan a maneuver a bit early and try to get ourselves as close to this landing spot I selected earlier. This was actually the first thing I launched in this map. It was a little lunar probe similar to Surveyor 1, or not Surveyor 1, but the Surveyor landers. And what I'm going to do is once I warp to this maneuver, I'm going to use the absolutely crazy thrust of that fourth stage to slow us down a decent amount of the way. The first burn's very small, only about 100 meters per second. That's just to get us on a trajectory that's going to get us close enough to it. And we have just initialized that burn, and we should be done now. And now all we have to do, we are going to drift to the launch site. And once we're done time warping, I'm going to add, with the trajectories mod, this is a really interesting feature. It allows you to see where you're going to land from your view, which is a really helpful tool. So what actually I'm going to do, I'm going to burn retrograde, but also sort of semi-face up. And what this is going to do, this is kind of going to push us back up, allowing us to go even farther. And after that, I think I might drop this one stage, this fourth stage, so we can land after I change our inclination just a bit. And you know what, I think I might just hang on to this stage a bit longer. It's always good to have extra delta V if I need to move my orbit a bit. So I'm gonna burn a bit more to get our trajectory really close to that probe, and then we're gonna detach that fourth stage and activate the engines. I had to do it manually because of when you go into time warp, there's a glitch where you hit Alt and then F, or not Alt and G, I believe. It allows you to do time warp when you're not in an atmosphere, but it also does a thing where you can't use the staging mechanic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start burning retrograde in a bit, and that's going to, now you actually see I was overshooting it a bit. So what I did the thing where I tilt up, which gives a little bit of force pushing up. And as you can see, we're about to see that fourth stage crash in at about 1,000 meters per second. And yep, there it is. So now what we're gonna do is we are just gonna have this thing point retrograde. And if you guys are curious about any of the mods I use for this lander right here, or the base, was actually Kerbal Planetary Base Systems. It's a really good mod. I'd highly suggest you use it. It gives you a ton of new parts and for base structures, and also it gives you those engines, which are like 4 of the little spark engines added. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch the altitude meter over to the ground and not sea level, and then we're just going to try to slow ourselves to about 10 meters per second and just try to not crash. And I kind of noticed that I started drifting a bit after that. So what's going to happen is, I noticed this a bit too late, but I'm kind of drifting to the left. And this was because my center of mass and center of gravity were not perfectly lined up. The reaction wheels were able to keep it oriented correctly, but it would create a little sideways motion. So what I did here was I turned too much, which caused it to hit, and then when I land on the surface, I nearly flipped. But the reaction wheels were able to keep me stabilized on the surface. So once we get that back on the ground, we are going to detach those fuel tanks. So we are just going to decouple those. It's not Kerbal Space Program if something doesn't explode. So yes, we have a little base on the moon here. I'm going to turn the ambient light back down, so you guys are going to be blind for a minute. Then I'm just going to wait for the moon to come back into view. It shouldn't take long. Come on. Give it a minute. And there we go. We have the sun up there. And we have an absolutely, nice view of the shiny surface. I don't get why that's a part of this mod. It's got, a shiny reflective surface, almost glossy. But, I am getting a bit nitpicky there. Now, if you like this video, I'm planning to release more KSP Real Solar System videos. My next one's actually going to be one where we go to Mars with a Project Orion nuclear pulse propulsion spacecraft. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.